Greetings shippers, welcome back, and it's time for another episode of Headcanon Theater, the series where we examine certain headcanons that have either made their way around fandom, or perhaps are less well known but deserve a bit more attention. Following Avengers Infinity War and all of the feels that people are having, and yes, I just unironically use the word feels because it's that kind of video. Well, following all of that, I thought it would be fun to examine a kind of fun, more lighthearted headcanon surrounding Thor and Loki. We're talking lighthearted along the lines of some of the other headcanons we've talked about in the past, such as Deep Dish 9, the headcanon wherein Deep Space Nine is actually a pizza parlor. Or General Hux loves cats, for what better way to flesh out a character in fanon than to have them have a pet? A morphing of the already cliched trope of villains and their pets, especially cats. In the spirit of such headcanons, I am pleased to present to you Thor and Loki are actually Tulio and Miguel from The Road to El Dorado. Or vice versa. Before we examine how this came about, first, some backstory. The Road to El Dorado was an animated adventure film released in 2000 by DreamWorks, during the era wherein the rivalry between animation studios was extremely intense, as following the Disney Renaissance of the late 80s, other companies attempted to move in and take the animation crown, especially as in the early 2000s, Disney was waning in terms of the quality of its animated films. However, these attempts to replace Disney were often highly derivative of Disney, both in look and occasionally in tone, as an attempt to lull viewers into the sense that they may indeed be watching a Disney film, something that many viewers still mistake this film for. The Road to El Dorado has its own complex production history, which is in itself worthy of discussing, and if anyone is interested, we will come back to it. However, suffice it to say, it is a comedic alternate history retelling of when the conquistadors made land in Central America, aka the New World, which definitely raises some of the same questions people have about its existence as, say, Pocahontas. And potential problematic issues aside, the actual staff working on the film had very little fondness for it, instead focusing on the animation, as they felt the story itself was pretty mediocre. However, all of that aside, the film has a dedicated fan base, as many were drawn to the aforementioned animation, which is quite lovely, the talented voice cast, and the characters they play, who are distinct and pretty likable. And there are some hidden gems in this film, such as the adult jokes and its more mature takes on sexuality. If the film is taken on its own terms and viewed as purely fictional, it becomes much more palatable, though it is understandable why some may find this hard to do. The film also has a large shipping contingent with a variety of ships, and there is much appreciation for Chell, who presented a type of female animated character that is still not often seen, and many gravitated to how she in some ways embodied their inner shipper. The film has also yielded many gifs that are in use to this day, and are sometimes recreated via animation or with other works. There are also some fun fan theories that tie this film into others, mostly Disney-based, such as Miguel and Tulio being Flynn Rider's parents. So with all that being said, how do we get from this film's own fan theories and ships and headcanons to Loki and Thor? Well, the plot of The Road to El Dorado centers around Tulio and Miguel's attempts to get rich quick. Their exploits lead them to having to flee their country, and they end up bound for the New World, where they find themselves mistaken for gods. Rather than risk potential death, the two do the time-honored tradition of playing along. For years, people had noted that Miguel and Tulio's character designs bore resemblance to certain classical mythological gods, a similarity that was no doubt purposeful. However, upon the release of Thor in 2011 and its subsequent popularity, some fans were quick to note that they looked strikingly similar to Thor and Loki. And not only that, the dynamic was slightly similar as well, with Tulio/Loki as the voice of reason, reluctantly dragged along on foolhardy adventures and schemes by the boisterous, rash Miguel Thor. Once suggested, this headcanon was off, mostly represented through fan art, though there are fics here and there are also some fun fan mixes as well.
It's tough to be a god, bred where mortals have not trod.
Many were drawn to the inherent silliness of the concept, and also how it could lighten up the angst that had permeated much of Thor, when certain fans were keen to see the two brothers get along and enjoy a more lighthearted dynamic, such as the one to be featured years later in Thor 3, Thor Ragnarok. Some also enjoyed the idea of Miguel and Tulio roaming around Asgard for years masquerading as gods. So it was that Thor managed to give a brief boost to the Road to El Dorado fandom. The origin of this headcanon is more difficult to nail down, as it is a small drop within both fandoms as a whole, and while popular with those who are aware of it, it has not exactly entered the mainstream consciousness of crossover headcanons. Still, it is a fun one, and those who deal in it do create some fun and lovingly intricate works, especially when it comes to manips and costuming. So, were you aware of this particular headcanon? If not, what do you think of it? And if you were aware of it, were you a fan of it? Yes or no? Thor and Loki, Miguel and Tulio, mighty and powerful gods. Also, leave your thoughts on The Road to El Dorado down below. I want to know what you thought of the movie. Hopefully this has cheered up some of you who were a bit bummed about the status of Thor and Loki at the time of this recording. Or perhaps you just like lighthearted headcanons. I know I do. As always, please follow me on social media to stay up to date and hit that bell notification so you never miss a vid. That's all for this one. I appreciate you guys spending some time exploring fandom with me. Until next time, let's get to that outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. For those following on Patreon, the monthly vote for May is now underway, so head on over and vote. And for all my shippers out there, as always, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.